with the new Chancellor warning of more tough decisions to come. Well, let's get reaction from some people that it will affect. Joining me now, Chris Cohen, who runs a restaurant delivery and food consultancy service in Stoke-on-Trent. Stacey Simpson is a stay-at-home mum on universal credit, and Pauline Hinder is semi-retired. Really good to talk to all three of you today. Thanks again for joining us. Chris, to you first of all, just talk us through what impact you thought the mini-budget was going to have on you and your employees, first of all.
Yes, so confidence is huge, isn't it? For people, for businesses, personally, professionally. I think that is an area that we really need to look at. People need to know that the government are creating a pathway where they can move forward and make progress. So currently we have a situation, mortgages are going up. We kind of have this massive worry about energy costs, and it goes on. And I think we just need to find some calm. We need to have some stability from government. Business-wise, Jane, the energy increase is hitting hospitality really hard. I would say to all hospitality, we need to be creative, but at the same time, it's real. I'm going to mention a restaurant in Cheshire, not far away from us, called Next Door. Vicky and Richard Frodsham, who are intending to do an evening that is done by candlelight using charcoal. I mean, it's creative. It's a reaction to the real circumstances we find it. And if my business, Feasted, is going to push forward, we do need some stability.
So stability is what you would like. Stacey, to you. Now, when we last spoke, you were talking about worrying about your rising energy bills. You've got two daughters, 4 and 8, still not turning the heating on. What did you think when you heard the Chancellor say that the energy help that the Prime Minister has announced will end at Easter, will end in the spring and won't continue for the next 2 years?
I think it's extremely worrying for the parents in my situation. I just think I was all for her, and I just don't, like I said in the last interview, I don't think that she could keep up with the promises, which is obviously now what she's done. I don't think she'll be here much longer now.
Yeah, you were a real fan of hers, weren't you? I remember you saying, it was all about girl power, and you thought that you're being disrupted by your own girl power behind you, aren't you?
No, I'm not. It's somebody fitting an aerial outside my new house. Sorry about that.
No worries at all.
But yeah.
But in terms of your daily life, whatever your feelings are about Liz Truss, it must be a massive worry about whether or not you're going to be able to pay your energy bill.
It should. I still haven't put the heating on. The children, obviously I went to the car boot sale on Sunday and got one of these really big, thick, dressing gowns that come down to the kids' knees. I think it's called a snug or something like that. And they seem to really. We didn't put the heating on last night, and I don't really want to do it, but at the same time, I can't have the children cold.
No, well, mercifully, the weather is still pretty mild, isn't it? Let's bring in Pauline Hinder. Pauline, you're a single woman. You're really worried about your finances, and pension is a real concern for you. What have the last few weeks been like, knowing that there has been a lot of turmoil on the markets? Were you concerned that it was going to affect the stability of yours?
Well, yes, because I'm speaking as a 50s-born woman, and we've already lost up to 6 years of our state pensions. So all of this economic crisis that everybody's feeling now is actually coming on top of everything else we've had to deal with. And so, how much is too much? I got my state pension from April of this year, but as soon as I got that, it was announced that the triple lock was going to be moved for the first time since its inception. Pension credit threshold is too low. And now this morning, the Chancellor says he's going to help those well off, and they want to give stability, but they say things and then they take them away. They've given us the 2-year support, the safety net on energy issues. But now he's changed that this morning. The first thing he's done, and he's changed it to a year. So what they say and what they actually do don't stack up.
Well, it's not even a year.
So
It's just till
I'm
April.
confused.
Yeah, it's just 6 months. And you said you feel that they help those who are well off. Is that how you see the government? They aren't helping people who are less well off?
Well, it's been a boom to have this additional income and support, but they've now threatened effectively to take all of that away next year. How is that providing people with any stability? It isn't. And why haven't they brought back the triple lock in one of the most difficult years since, is it the 70s, financially, that we've had? But they've left that out. The pension credit threshold is too small. So, you have to be on a really low income to be entitled to that. So 50s born women have had to have all of this on top of 6 years without pensions. So we just don't know which way to turn, really. And meanwhile, you've got billionaires who are asking to pay more in tax to help all of these issues and more. It just doesn't make sense.
Okay, let's go back to Chris. Chris, you're talking about
see it as stability.
Yeah, thanks very much, Pauline. Let's go back to Chris. You were talking about another restaurant near you where they're doing things like having candlelight evenings, cooking on charcoal. But in terms of your industry, I mean, any industry that's producing stuff, that's manufacturing, is going to be using energy in much higher proportions than the rest of us normally do in our daily lives. How are you going to manage?
There's two things going on, I think, around this. So if you are a traditional restaurant in a traditional space, paying the structure that has been around for a long time, let's make no mistake, Jane, you're going to find it really, really tough. But, I think it is a time to think differently. I think it's time to be creative, and with total respect to anyone who is struggling, I do think it is a time to shake things up. I think we're sort of hitting like something that's almost Renaissance-like. I think a lot of the stuff around the energy companies, if they were to get them in front of the camera and ask them to be completely honest, which I don't think they would be, I think they are massively paranoid about what's coming in terms of the need for more sustainable approach to energy production. So if you take the inherent structure of the oil industry and the huge, huge profits and legacy it has, I mean, we're looking at something that's going to shake that up in the next sort of 10 years, maybe a little bit longer, around green, renewable energy. So, I mean, that's huge. But to bring that back to hospitality, guys, my plea to people in hospitality: think differently, do things differently. We're operating out of an old factory in Stoke-on-Trent, the old Spode site. We're not doing things normally. We're training people, we're developing people. We are responding to the needs of our industry post-pandemic, and that is where it is at for me. Let's dream big, but let's also be hyper aware about the things, the challenges that prevent people from pushing forward day to day. We need to give people confidence. We need to give people stability, regardless of what colour, what creed that government is. I want to be really clear on that. Don't judge this in opposition. Judge this in isolation of what they say.
And Stacey, bringing you back in, you're talking about going to the car boot sale and getting some really nice snuggly pyjamas and dressing gowns for the girls. It must be really tough making sure that your concerns about finances and making ends meet don't pass down to them, is it?
It's extremely worrying. It had just been nice for the government to put more effort into the economy than actually going after each other all the time. Does that make any sense?
So you think the government isn't putting enough effort in, essentially?
Yeah, I think they are. But I think, like the other guy said, I think it's all down to the fact if people trust them now, with like the stability. I can't remember when I did the last interview and everything was promised, and now everything's up in limbo. And I think that's the problem now. Everyone just doesn't trust anybody.
So has it damaged your trust in politicians?
Getting there. I'm trying not to. I like to trust everybody, but I think they are very. I think everything's just up in the air again.
Okay, Pauline, back to you. I mean, a lot of people are suggesting that this really could be the final nail in the coffin for Liz Truss. I mean, do you feel that her time is very, very clearly numbered now as Prime Minister?
Well, I think she came in with a very specific agenda. She followed it, and then Kwasi Kwarteng paid the price. So her agenda's it's gone. Really, she shouldn't be there anymore, and we're run by a government that's been chosen by a very small minority of people, and it's already a minority government because of our voting system. And we just need a change. Everybody needs to gather. We need to have a breath of fresh air to breathe in following COVID, following all the monetary losses that people have had. I mean, George Osborne started with his austerity when there wasn't any, and now we really have got some austerity. Where can you cut money? You can't when you haven't got any. 50s women have no money to cut. And they want full restitution, and that's what they're looking for. Hopefully, daughter-in-law will achieve that shortly. But no, it's time for them to go, I think. They've had their day. They're past their sell-by date.
Okay. There's a lot of people up and down the country who will also be feeling the pinch, Pauline, not just women like yourselves. So. Pauline Hinder and Stacey Simpson and Chris Cohen, thank you all very much for joining us.